brings us to this parable. And he gives us some harsh realities and hard lessons on life. He gives us a story about a man who had 2 sons. And obviously one of these sons was looking closer than the other son. Because obviously he was looking at all that his father had worked for. He was looking at the glitter and the glamour. And it came to a point that he didn't want to no longer live under his father's rule. Because somebody had told him a long time ago, listen, boy, you ain't got to stay in the house and do what your daddy said. After all, everything that he had, half of it belonged to you. Not only that, you don't have to wait till he's dead. You can get it now. Isn't it funny? And I must submit this to you today, that the devil plays an intricate part in our fatherhood. Because he gets into the mind of our sons and allow them to see through the wrong eye.
Teach.
After all, what a good father does, the son doesn't realize that he's under a great protection. He ain't got to, he don't have to pay no bill. He don't have to buy no food. He don't have to deal with the mortgage company. He don't have to pay house insurance. He don't have, after all, he lives under some great protection. And all he has to do is every now and then keep his mouth shut. All he has to do is every now and then put the garbage out. All he got to do is every now and then beat daddy to the front door. Every now and then all you got to do is beat daddy to the lawnmower. Everything else is taken care of. Why? Because our instincts wants the best for our children. And our instincts tells us what I have, my son had. My instinct tells me if it hurts me, if they need it, I'm going to make sure they get it. But every now and then, here comes the devil. I'm a man like you a man, Daddy. Nigga will tell you, he ain't paying no bills, he ain't doing nothing, he ain't even buying his own gas in the car. And every now and then he tell you, I put my pants on like my dad put his pants on. This is where we fail. That is where we ought to draw the line. And somebody, even if you don't want to be there, somebody ought to get some punishment on. If we want our sons to be the best that they can be.
Yes. Yes.
First of all, brothers, you got to look at yourself.
Come on.
Examine what kind of father you are. Because some of us, we deal with our sons like we've never got drunk before.
All right.
We deal with them like we've never got loaded before.
Come on.
We deal with them like we've never done some of the things that we see them doing.
Teach.
So that if we deal with them like we've gone that mile of the race, we can approach them on a different level. We can approach them on a level that says, listen, I've done what you're doing, but you don't need to do what you're doing because this is the consequence for you doing what you're doing. Don't deal with them like you ain't never bought no weed before. Don't deal with them like you ain't never got drunk before. Don't deal with them like you ain't never stole a car before. Don't deal with them like you ain't never brought pain to your mama and your daddy. Deal with them like you know where they be. This man had 2 sons. The son comes to him one day and said, Daddy, preach, man. I need my portion of inheritance. And what I like about this father, he didn't argue with his son. He didn't cuss him out and hit him with no 2x4. He didn't put him out the house and throw him out. He went and got him what he asked. Because somewhere the daddy could see what the son couldn't see. See, the daddy had what is called wisdom.
Yes.
And so then what the daddy figured out was, if my son don't understand what I'm trying to tell him, life itself will teach him some hard lessons. And I had an old man tell me one time, he said, Rev, I don't worry about them children, because guess what? Anything you feed, he might leave, but one day he coming back. Because Solomon said if you train up a child in the way it should go, when he is old, he will not depart from. They act crazy, but they remember what you told them. And sometimes when they find themselves in between a rock and a hard place, ain't nothing to think about but what mom and daddy used to tell them. Life can be one of the best teachers. This young man, in his ignorance, in his lack of wisdom, makes a harsh request because he wanted something at a time of his life when he couldn't have it. And some of us are guilty of that because we give our children stuff because we can give it to them and not realizing the damage that it'll do to them because we give it to them out of season. You give them cars, they don't know how to go around the corner. You put them in apartments, you never even taught them how to pay a bill. Son makes a harsh. And I want to submit to these young people, you got to be careful what you ask for. I want to submit to some of you adults, you got to be careful what you ask for. Because this request of the younger son for his share of the inheritance. Somewhere along the line, somebody had told him, or he had read in Deuteronomy 21:17, that he as a son was entitled to 1/3 of his father's inheritance. His request was a legal request, since a man could divide his estate up while he was yet living. It was a shocking request. And the father, nonetheless, granted his request. He gave him what he asked him. And sometimes, my brothers and sisters, wisdom is what our sons and daughters need. Because if we give them wisdom, somewhere along the line, they can make some educated decisions in their life. Instead of beating them over the head and instead of allowing them to learn some things, we shield them from life's impossibilities. After all, this generation has more than any other generation has. You know, when you was coming up, you might have had a sack of marbles to play with. Now they got